The Chiral Dominion ruled vast reaches of the galaxy with iron claws and endless swarms. Their ships moved like hungry insects, cutting through stars to claim new worlds. They had broken many species over centuries, offering only two choices: bow or die. Most chose to bow quickly, because fighting meant nothing against such numbers. Sub-Overseer Vexthar stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Razor Mandible. He watched the main holoscreen with calm satisfaction. A single human ship drifted near the border of contested space. The vessel looked small and alone against the black. The name glowed in simple letters: UNS Indomitable. Humans gave their ships bold names, as if words could stop weapons. Vexthar found it amusing. His hunter pack numbered 12, sleek raiders, each shaped like curved claws. They formed a loose circle around the human cruiser, closing in from every side. Engines hummed, low power signatures steady. No alarms came from the target ship, no sudden bursts of speed. No frantic scans. The humans seemed unaware, or perhaps too proud to run. Vexthar clicked his mandibles in approval. Pride made targets easy. He gave the order without raising his voice: launch strike pattern Delta, cripple engines first, then broadcast the terms. Standard procedure worked every time on lesser races. The pack answered as one. Affirmative, Sub-Overseer. Energy lances stabbed forward in perfect unison. Bright lines of violet light crossed the void and struck true. The first hit tore into the Indomitable's main drive nacelle. Sparks bloomed along the hull, followed by a slow gout of plasma venting into space. The second and third strikes carved deep gashes across the aft section. Armor peeled away in sheets. Secondary explosions rippled, but stayed contained. No debris field formed yet. The human ship still held together. Vexthar watched closely. No counterfire came. No point defense turrets spun up. No missiles launched. The cruiser simply drifted now, listing slightly as attitude. Thrusters fired in weak bursts to correct the tumble. He felt a flicker of disappointment. Humans were supposed to be stubborn, according to reports. They should at least try something futile to prove their spirit. This silence felt wrong, but he pushed the thought aside. He opened the broadcast channel using the Universal Surrender Protocol, translated into every known human dialect. Attention vessel, UNS Indomitable. This is Sub-Overseer Vexthar of the Chiral Dominion. Your engines are disabled. Your weapons are offline. Your position is surrounded. Cease all resistance immediately. Prepare for boarding. Your crew will be preserved as labor assets for the greater swarm. Resistance will result in total loss of life. Compliance ensures survival. Transmit acceptance now. The words echoed across open frequencies, crisp and mechanical. Vexthar waited. He expected the usual response: panic, demands for negotiation, pleas for mercy, or blind rage followed by useless shooting. Instead, dead. No reply came at all. Minutes passed. The pack tightened formation. Boarding pods loaded with elite warriors primed their tubes. Grapples extended like eager limbs, ready to latch and tear open hull plates. Vexthar allowed himself a small chitter of satisfaction. Easy prey always tasted sweeter. Then something shifted on the holoscreen. The Indomitable began to rotate. Not fast, not panicked, just a slow, deliberate spin, as if the ship itself had decided to face every attacker at once. Turrets stayed silent. Power readings flickered oddly across damaged sections. Life signs remained steady. Crew complements showed no unusual movement. No evacuation. No rush to escape pods. Nothing. Vexthar narrowed his compound eyes. He tapped a secondary display. Bring me enhanced scan of that rotation vector. What are they doing? The sensor officer replied quickly. Rotation appears intentional. Sub-Overseer, no weapons tracking, no energy buildup. It matches no known evasion pattern. Preparing final honors, or signaling defeat. Vexthar considered the words. Final honors sounded poetic for mammals. Perhaps the humans had accepted fate in their own strange way. He opened the channel again. This is your final warning. UNS Indomitable. Transmit surrender code or we board by force. Time remaining 3 minutes. Still no answer. The cruiser kept turning slowly, almost lazily. Vexthar felt the first thread of unease crawl along his carapace. He had seen countless surrenders. This felt different. No fear scent on scans. No spike in heart rates from the human crew. Just calm, steady biosigns, as if they waited for something else entirely. He checked the tactical overlay again. 12 raiders perfectly positioned, shields at full, weapons hot. The human ship could not run, could not fight, could not hide. One good push would end it, yet the silence dragged on. 2 minutes remained. Vexthar decided to press the advantage, move to final approach. All ships advanced to boarding range. Prepare intrusion teams. Target primary hull seams. We take them alive if possible, dead if necessary. The pack surged forward, smooth and coordinated. Boarding pods detached and drifted toward the wounded cruiser like seeds seeking soil. Vexthar leaned closer to the holoscreen, watching for any last desperate act. Nothing came. The Indomitable simply rotated one full turn, then stopped, facing the razor mandible directly. 1 minute left. Vexthar prepared to give the final command. Then a single voice broke the silence. Human standard accent, calm, flat, professional. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Nations starship Indomitable. Your attack is an act of war against humanity. We reject your terms. You now have 30 seconds to withdraw to a minimum safe distance of 2 AU or face consequences. Vexthar froze for one heartbeat. Then he laughed. The sound rattled through his throat plates, sharp and disbelieving. 30 seconds. The pack was already inside grappling range. Escape impossible for the humans. Counterattack laughable. The voice sounded bored, not afraid. He replied on the same open channel. Your time is up, Captain Vasquez. Prepare to become assets. The human voice answered once more, colder now. You wanted assets? Congratulations. You have just become ours. The channel cut off. Vexthar stared at the screen. The Indomitable had stopped all movement. No more spin, no more venting. Every external panel on the hull retracted at once, revealing rows upon rows of something hidden. Something never shown on any prior scan. Something waiting. The sub-overseer felt ice in his blood for the first time in his long career. He opened his mouth to order full retreat, but the words never left. The void lit up with sudden terrible fire. The void lit up with sudden terrible fire. But the fire did not come from the human ship, not yet. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, hands clasped behind her back, eyes fixed on the tactical display. Her crew worked in quiet focus, no shouts, no panic, just the soft clicks of controls and the low hum of systems coming alive. 30 seconds had started, the moment she finished speaking. The chiral pack ignored the warning, as she knew they would. Their ships closed faster now, boarding pods already drifting free, like metal insects seeking flesh to burrow into. Vexthar probably smiled behind his mandibles, thinking the humans bluffed or broke under pressure. Many species did. Most crumbled when cornered. Vasquez did not blink. She counted down in her head. 25, 24. The bridge lights dimmed slightly as power rerouted to hidden systems. Sections long sealed, now opened with soft hisses. Crew members at secondary stations reported ready, in calm voices. Racks deployed. All safeties off. All timers synced. The chiral commander broadcast again. This is your last chance, humans. Surrender or die. The voice carried the usual arrogance, the certainty of victory. Vasquez let it play out. She answered nothing, Words wasted on the already dead. 20 seconds. Her executive officer, Lieutenant Chen, leaned close. Sir, scans show their shields optimized for energy weapons. Particle beams, lasers, plasma, nothing kinetic, nothing nuclear. They expect beams, not bombs. Vasquez nodded once. Good. Let them keep expecting. She had read the chiral combat doctrines years ago, back when humanity first met the swarm. The insects feared directed energy above all else. Their carapaces hardened against heat. Their ships bled power into reflection fields against lasers. They laughed at crude explosives, because explosives needed proximity, and proximity meant death for the user. 15 seconds. The boarding pods reached final approach range. Grapples fired, magnetic. Clamps locked on to the Indomitable's hull with dull thuds, echoed through the deck plating. Chiral warriors inside those pods prepared cutting torches and breaching charges, ready to carve entry points. Humans should have panicked by now. Humans should have fired wild shots, or begged, or fled in escape craft. None of that happened. 10 seconds, Vasquez spoke quietly. Release the outer ablative layers. Panels across the cruiser shed thick sheets of ice and composite foam. The material billowed outward in slow clouds, designed to scatter incoming energy and confuse targeting sensors. The chiral ships adjusted course slightly, avoiding the expanding veil. They saw it as a desperate shield, a pathetic last gasp. They moved closer still. 5 seconds. The tactical display showed perfect encirclement. 12 raiders, 12 sets of weapons trained, 12 boarding teams locked on. Vasquez allowed herself one small breath. She turned to the weapons officer, Ensign Ramirez. Ready? The order went out, soft, but final. 0 seconds. No bright beams stabbed from the Indomitable. No missiles streaked away. Instead, every hidden rack on the hull spat its payload, in one smooth, coordinated wave. Hundreds of warheads, older designs from Earth's ancient arsenals, updated with compact antimatter triggers, tumbled free on precise vectors. They did not aim at individual ships. That would waste effort. Instead, they flew to calculated points in space around the chiral formation, forming an invisible sphere of death. The first detonations came fast. Chain reactions rippled outward. Each blast, a sun born in vacuum. Thermonuclear fireballs bloomed white-hot, then faded to angry red as radiation flooded the area. Neutron bursts, gamma rays, X-rays sleeted through armor like paper. Chiral shields flared brilliant violet, then collapsed under the unseen hammer of particles no field could stop. Vexstar watched horror freeze his limbs as his flagship shuddered. Mandible rocked hard. Alarms screamed across every deck. Radiation warnings blared in urgent clicks. His shields dropped to 30% in seconds. Hull integrity failing in multiple sections. Crew members convulsed as gamma rays cooked them from inside. Carapaces cracked. Exoskeletons split open. He tried to shout orders, but his voice caught. The main viewer showed chaos. One raider vanished in a silent flash. Another spun wildly as its engines melted. Another attempted hyperspace jump. The forming portal warped under the radiation storm, then tore the ship apart in a spray of molten metal. Vasquez watched without expression. The bridge remained steady. Inertial dampeners held the Indomitable rock solid at the center of the growing storm. Crew reported damage minimal. One nacelle offline, but backups online. Secondary systems green. Life support stable. The ablative clouds had done their job, scattering enough energy to keep stray radiation from cooking the humans too. Of death, the chiral pack ceased to exist. 12 ships became clouds of gas, glowing debris, and charred fragments. Spinning wreckage tumbled away, some pieces still burning with fusion fire. The nebula of destruction expanded slow and terrible, lit by dying sparks. Vasquez opened a new channel. This one narrow beam, tight focus toward the single chiral scout that had hung back at extreme range. The scout had not joined the final rush. It now drifted, damaged engines flickering, trying to crawl away. She spoke clearly for the record. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the UNS Indomitable. Your attack force has been neutralized. Your demand for surrender was refused. The next chiral vessel to threaten a human ship will receive the same response. Transmit this message to your command. Return to your space. Do not come back." She cut the transmission. No need for more words. The scout limped toward the jump point, trailing smoke and fear. Vasquez turned away from the display. "Casualties on our side? 0, sir. The warheads performed as tested. Point-blank range, maximized kill probability." Vasquez nodded. "Repair teams to the nacelle. Get us mobile again. Helm, plot course back to friendly space. We have a report to file." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. No cheers, no celebration, just quiet work. The Indomitable had done what it was built to do. It had waited, it had endured, it had erased. Far away in the heart of the chiral dominion, the scout ship arrived hours later. Its fragmented data burst hit the High Swarm command like poison. The footage looped on every screen. Vexkthar's final log played in broken pieces. They did not surrender. They waited until we were close enough to erase us completely. Insectoid leaders stared in silence. Mandibles clicked in distress. Compound eyes widened. The humans had not fought with honor. They had not used clean weapons. They had used old, dirty fire, the kind that left nothing to salvage, the kind that poisoned space. For years. One overlord whispered the words that would soon echo through the galaxy. "They are not like the others." Word spread fast through neutral space. Traitors whispered. Diplomats froze. Species that once ignored humanity now watched with new eyes. The Salt Doctrine became a name spoken in fear. A policy never written, but always followed. Never ask a human to kneel, because when you do, they do not bow. They wait. They count. They erase. Vasquez sat in her cabin later reviewing logs. The battle had lasted less than 2 minutes. The cost to the chiral immense. The cost to humanity nothing. She closed the file and looked out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and old. Many thought they could take what they wanted from the newcomers. Many learned too late. Humans did not come to conquer. They came to stay. And if you pushed them, they pushed back harder, until nothing remained to push against. She smiled once, small and private. Then she stood and returned to the bridge. The Indomitable moved on, engines humming steady toward home. The lesson had been taught. The galaxy would remember. The galaxy learned fast after the erasure of the chiral hunter pack. Traders carried the story from station to station. Whispers turned to warnings. Species that once laughed at human shits now checked their sensors twice when a Terran vessel appeared on long-range scans. The chiral dominion tried to hide the loss at first. They called it a minor skirmish, a temporary setback. But the data from the surviving scout spread like venom through their own networks. No one could deny what the footage showed. High Swarm overlords gathered in the deepest hive chambers of their capital world. The air smelled thick with fierce pheromones. Mandibles clicked in nervous rhythm. Compound eyes stared at repeating hollows of the Indomitable, at the heart of the blast sphere untouched, while 12 raiders burned away in seconds. One overlord spoke low. "We underestimated them. They did not fight like prey. They fought like poison set in a trap." Another replied, "We must know how. Such weapons should not exist on a single cruiser. Our spies reported human fleets rely on kinetics and beams. Nothing like this. Salt fire. Nothing so crude. Nothing so final." They ordered deeper intelligence. Teams of infiltrators slipped toward human space, disguised as traders or refugees. They sought blueprints, shipyard records, engineer testimonies, anything to explain the hidden racks, the perfect timing, the cold calculation. But humans guarded their secrets well. Crews knew little beyond need to know. Orders came sealed from high command, Even captains learned the full truth, only when the moment arrived. Back on the Indomitable, Captain Elena Vasquez walked the repaired corridors. The main drive nacelle glowed steady again, backup cores purred soft. Crew members nodded as she passed. No hero worship, just quiet respect. They had all seen the same thing. They had all felt the ship shudder under contained power. They had all watched the Chiral vanish in fire. In her ready room, Vasquez reviewed classified files. Contingency package had roots in Earth's old wars. When first contact came, humanity arrived late to the galactic stage. Everyone else had energy shields, elegant weapons, clean kills. Humans brought history of total war, of cities turned to glass, of winters without sun. Engineers remembered. Those memories shaped the designs. Every warship carried the package. Different sizes, different yields, but always the same idea. Wait until the enemy commits. Close the distance. Let them think victory is certain. Then unleash hell. No warning beyond the countdown. No mercy after refusal. The doctrine had no official name in public records. Crews called it the Salt Doctrine, after ancient stories of fields ruined forever so enemies could never return. Vasquez closed the file. She stood and looked out the viewport. Stars moved slow. The nebula of wreckage still glowed faint behind them, a graveyard marker for those who demanded surrender. She felt no joy, no regret, only certainty. The galaxy needed to understand one thing clearly. Humans did not seek fights, but when fights came, humans ended them completely. Word reached neutral worlds fast. Aboard the trade hub at Nexus Prime, diplomats from 20 species met in private rooms. They spoke in low voices. The Chiral loss changed everything. One avian representative ruffled feathers. We thought humans weak because they talked of peace. They talk because they can afford to. When they stop talking, we see what waits behind the words. A reptilian envoy hissed agreement. Their weapons are old, primitive, yet effective beyond measure. We use precision, they use erasure. Why build such things on patrol ships? The answer came from a quiet human merchant at the edge of the table. He smiled, thin. We build them because we remember invaders who ask for terms. We remember camps. We remember ovens. We remember bombs falling on cities full of children. We remember what happens when you give ground. So we stopped giving. Now we give fire. The merchant continued. Every human ship carries enough to glass a continent. If you force our hand, we do not target your fleets alone. We target everything you value. Because if you come for one of us, you come for all of us. And we answer for all of us. The diplomats left that meeting changed. They sent urgent dispatches home. Governments debated new policies. All agreed on one point. Approach humans with care. Never demand. Never threaten. Never assume they will fold. Months passed. The Chiral tried recovery. They sent envoys under white flags to human border stations. They offered reparations, territory concessions, trade rights, anything to stop the bleeding. The human negotiators listened politely. They accepted some terms. They refused others. When pressed on future aggression, one ambassador said simple words. Next time, we will not wait 30 seconds. The message spread. The Chiral pulled back fleets from contested zones. They avoided human patrol lanes entirely. Vexari stopped raids. The Thran Concord canceled expansion plans. The galaxy shifted quiet. A new balance formed. Not from treaties, not from alliances, from fear of what waited inside human hulls. On the Indomitable, life returned to routine. Drills continued. Maintenance cycles ran on schedule. Crew rotated through shore leave. Vasquez promoted 2 officers who performed perfect during the engagement. She wrote citations dry and factual. No drama, no exaggeration, just facts. The crew understood. That was enough. One evening Vasquez stood on the observation deck, alone. The stars stretched endless. She thought of home. Earth blue and fragile. She thought of ancestors who survived worse. She thought of the Chiral who learned too late. She spoke to the empty room, soft. We did not ask for this war, but we finished it. She turned away. The ship moved on. Engine steady, course true, toward whatever came next. Far across the void, a new Chiral scout watched from extreme range. Nothing. It simply observed. The Indomitable grew small, then vanished into jump space. The scout waited hours before turning back. It carried fresh data. Home would hear again. Humans remained. Humans endured. Humans erased when needed. The lesson settled deep. No one forgot. The SALT doctrine became legend. Not a written law, not a public threat, just a fact, etched in scorched metal and empty space. Touch a human ship, and watch your world learn why some things stay untouched. Years later, cadets in academies across species studied the encounter. They read transcripts, they viewed holos, they asked instructors the same question. Why did the humans wait? Why not fire sooner? Instructors gave the same answer. Because waiting made the lesson perfect. The Chiral came close. They demanded, they surrounded, they believed victory certain. When the fire came, no escape remained. No stories of near miss, no survivors to boast. Only silence, and the galaxy listened to that silence louder than any shout. Captain Vasquez retired eventually. She took a desk job training new crews. She told them stories without pride, without anger, just truth. Never start a fight you cannot end, she said, and if someone starts one with you, make sure nothing walks away to try again. The new crews listened, they nodded, they understood, because the stars were big, and humans intended to stay in them, no matter who tried to push them out. The Indomitable received a new name after refit, UNS Erasure. It served longer, years of quiet patrols, no more ambushes, no more demands. The name alone kept space clear. And somewhere in the deep black, a faint cloud of debris still drifted, slow and cold. A reminder made of atoms that once formed ships and lives. A reminder that humans, when cornered, did not kneel. They erased, and the galaxy never forgot. The scout ship limped through the void, its engines coughing plasma in weak bursts. The single surviving chiral vessel carried scars from the outer edge of the blast wave. Hull plates warped, sensor arrays half-blind, crew reduced to a handful of warriors who still twitched from radiation sickness. They broadcast the data burst on tight beam, straight to the high swarm. No delay, no encryption. The message arrived raw and complete. In the central hive chamber deep beneath the surface of Carvex, the overlords assembled fast. The air hung heavy with alarm pheromones. Mandibles clacked in rising panic. The main holoprojector flared to life, showing the final moments of the hunter pack. 12 sleek raiders, perfect formation, then sudden light, then nothing but expanding gas and tumbling wreckage. The Indomitable sat calm at the center, untouched. One overlord extended a forelimb toward the image. This cannot stand. We lost an entire pack to a single cruiser. What weapon did they use? How did they hide it? P. Another overlord answered with sharp clicks. The warheads were thermonuclear, laced with antimatter triggers. Old designs from their homeworld, updated for space. They did not fire at our ships. They fired into the space around us. The blasts overlapped, creating a kill sphere. No shield could stop the neutrons. No armor could block the gamma flood. They turned proximity into our weakness. P. The chamber filled with distressed chitters. The high swarm had never faced such erasure. Species surrendered or died clean. This felt dirty. Final. No salvage, no prisoners, no lesson taught. Only ash. The senior overlord spoke slow. We must respond. We cannot show weakness. The swarm will fracture if we appear afraid. Yet we cannot attack again. Not yet. We send envoys. We offer terms. We buy time to study their doctrine. Word spread through the Dominion fast. Warriors in distant outposts heard the truth from returning couriers. Hive minds buzzed with fear. Young larvae learned the name. Vasquez as a curse. Mothers told stories of the human who waited 30 seconds, then ended everything. The Chiral who once boasted of conquest now spoke in hushed tones of the mammals who erased without rage. Neutral space reacted quicker. Ambassadors from smaller empires arrived at human stations with gifts and careful words. They asked polite questions about trade, about borders, about peace. Human diplomats answered calm. They set no new demands. They simply reminded everyone, the stars are open to all who respect boundaries. Push too hard, and boundaries push back. On Earth itself, the news broke quiet. Official channels called it a successful defense. Classified briefings went deeper. Analysts studied the battle frame by frame. They noted the perfect timing, the cold countdown, the use of ancient weapons in new ways. One general summed it up in a single sentence. We built these packages for the day someone forgot why we survived the old wars. That day came early. The public learned little, just that a patrol ship repelled aggressors with minimal damage. No parades, no medals handed out in public. The crew of the Indomitable received quiet commendations. Vasquez got promotion to Rear Admiral but stayed aboard her ship. She refused desk duty. She said the lesson needed living teachers. Months turned to years. The Chiral kept their distance. Their fleets pulled back from human lanes. They focused inward, rebuilding numbers, studying scans of the wreckage, trying to understand the Salt Doctrine. Spies infiltrated human trade routes. They listened to bar talk. They bought black market data. They learned fragments. One spy returned with a stolen recording from a human engineer. The voice said simple, "We never trusted the galaxy to stay kind. First contact taught us that, so we kept the old fire ready, not for conquest, for survival. If they come asking for our knees, we give them graves instead." The recording spread through Chiral Command. It confirmed fears. Build these weapons in anger. They built them in memory. Memory of invasions, of lost worlds, of species wiped clean. Humanity carried scars no one else saw. So humanity carried teeth no one else expected. Diplomats finally met face to face on a neutral station. The Chiral delegation arrived under heavy guard. Insectoid forms clicked polite greetings. Human representatives stood tall, no weapons visible. The talks lasted days. Terms emerged. Reparations for the lost pack. Recognition of human borders. Non-aggression pacts. Trade openings. The Chiral offered much. The humans took some. They refused others. At the final session, a Chiral envoy asked direct, "Why install such weapons on every ship? Why prepare for total erasure when lesser force would suffice?" The lead human diplomat answered without hesitation. "Because we know what happens when you give invaders room, when you negotiate from weakness, when you hope mercy comes from those who demand surrender. We stopped hoping. We started preparing. Any who ask for our surrender get erasure. Because the alternative is worse, for us and for them." The envoy clicked mandibles in silence. The words settled heavy. The delegation left with signed documents and deep unease. The galaxy changed slow but sure. Species that once raided human convoys found other targets. Empires that planned expansion rerouted around Terran space. Stories grew. Legends formed. Cadets learned the encounter as cautionary tale. Instructors taught one clear rule: never corner a human, never demand, never assume they will break. Because when humans face the wall, they do not beg. They turn the wall into a weapon. They count seconds. They wait for perfect range. They erase. Captain Vasquez, now Rear Admiral Vasquez, took the Indomitable on longer patrols. She watched stars pass. She trained new officers. She told them the truth. No glory in waiting. No joy in destruction. Only necessity. She said simple words. The galaxy is big. It holds many who think strength means taking. We show them strength means keeping what we have, what we are. If they test that strength, we answer. Once. Only once. Because twice would mean we failed the first time. Her crew listened. They understood. They served without question. The ship moved on. Quiet. Powerful. A reminder in metal and fire. Far away the debris cloud from the battle still drifted. Slow. Cold. Eternal. Pieces of chiral raiders floated among frozen vapor. Some carried faint radiation. Some carried echoes of final screams. The nebula became known as the Erasure Field. Navigators avoided it. Traders pointed it out to young ones. See that cloud? That is what happens when you demand from humans. The name stuck. The lesson stuck. Deeper than any treaty. Deeper than any threat. The galaxy remembered. Not with words, with silence. A vast, quiet respect, born of fear and understanding. Humans walked among the stars, not as conquerors, not as victims, as survivors, who erased threats so completely that no one dared become the next threat. And in the deep black, the Indomitable sailed on, engines steady, crew alert, ready, always ready, for the day someone forgot. They would remind them, with fire, with waiting, with erasure. The stars stayed silent. They had learned to stay silent. Years passed since the erasure of the chiral hunter pack. The galaxy settled into a new quiet order. No one spoke loud about humans anymore. They spoke careful. They watched careful. They moved careful around Terran ships, as if every cruiser carried invisible teeth ready to bite. The UNS Indomitable, now renamed UNS Erasure, served longer than most expected. The refit made her stronger. New armor, new sensors, new backup systems, but the heart stayed the same. The hidden racks remained loaded. The countdown timers stayed calibrated. Crews rotated through, but the doctrine stayed etched deep. Every officer learned the story. Every ensign heard the lesson. Never demand, never corner, never forget what waits behind the calm. Rear Admiral Elena Vasquez took command of a small task force. She patrolled the outer rim where old breaths sometimes stirred. She rarely spoke of the battle. She let the name Erasure do the talking. When young officers asked why humans built such weapons, she gave the same. We built them so we never have to use them again. But if we must use them, we use them completely. One cycle, a new species appeared on the edge of known space, the Zorath Collective. Tall, crystalline beings who communicated through light pulses. They expanded fast. They claimed systems without asking. They demanded tribute from weaker races. They met resistance with focused beams that cut clean through hulls. No mess, no waste. They saw themselves as superior. They saw others as resources. A Zorath scout group found a human colony on a fringe world. The colony mined rare elements and shipped them back to core systems. The Zorath commander broadcast a simple demand. Surrender your output. Surrender your workers. Surrender or we take both. The colony leader sent an urgent distress call to the nearest patrol. The Erasure answered. She arrived in system fast. The Zorath scouts formed a loose wedge. 5 sleek prism ships, glowing with inner light. They scanned the human cruiser. Vessel against 5. They calculated easy victory. The Zorath commander pulsed a new message. This is Overlight Caliph of the Zorath Collective. Your colony now belongs to us. Your ship will stand aside or share their fate. Transmit compliance now. Vasquez stood on her bridge. The tactical displays showed the wedge closing. Slow, confident. She let the message play out. She answered calm. This is Rear Admiral Elena Vasquez of the United Nations Starship Erasure. Your claim is invalid. Your demand is refused. Withdraw now, or face the consequences. You have 30 seconds. The Zorath pulsed laughter. Light flickered in patterns that meant amusement. 30 seconds. They advanced. Weapons charged. Beams ready. They expected beams in return. They expected a fight they could win clean. Vasquez watched the clock. 25. 24. She spoke soft. Release outer panels. Hull section slid away. Racks unfolded. Warheads gleamed in the starlight. Hundreds of them. Old designs, new triggers. Same purpose. 15 seconds. The Zorath ships tightened formation. They targeted engines. They prepared to cripple and board. They saw no threat in the tumbling cylinders. They saw only debris waiting to be cleared. 10 seconds. Vasquez said, fire when ready. The volley left smooth. No fanfare, no bright streaks, just silent deadly flight. Warheads spread to points around the wedge, not at ships, at the space between them. The sphere formed perfect. 0 seconds. Detonations chained outward. Fireballs bloomed white, then red. Radiation flooded. Neutron storms swept. Gamma rays pierced. Crystalline hulls shattered from inside. Light pulses flickered out. Prisms cracked. Splinters spun away, glowing dull. The 5 ships vanished in seconds, became clouds of sparkling dust, became nothing. The erasure floated center, calm, untouched. Ablative clouds drifted gentle. The colony below watched in silence. Then cheers rose, soft at first, then loud. Vasquez opened a channel to the colony. This system remains human. Yours if you want it. The threat is gone. Resume operations. Report any further contact. She cut the line. She turned to her crew. Well done. Now plot course out. We have more space to keep safe. Word of the second erasure spread faster than the first. Traders carried hollows. Diplomats shared scans. Species that once doubted, now believed completely. The Zorath collective pulled back fast. They sent messages of regret. They offered gifts. They asked for peace. Vasquez met their envoy on neutral ground. The crystalline being pulsed, careful. We did not understand. We see now. Your way is final. We will not test it again. Vasquez nodded once. Good. Understanding keeps us all alive. The galaxy changed deeper. The SALT doctrine became unwritten law, not taught in academies, not written in treaties, just known. If you threaten a human ship, if you demand surrender, if you close to boarding range, you invite erasure. No second chances, no negotiations after the countdown. Only silence. Humanity grew stronger. Colonies spread. Fleets expanded. But the packages stayed. Every new ship carried them. Updated. Improved. Deadlier if needed. No one bragged. No one boasted. They simply prepared. Vasquez retired at last. She took a small home on a quiet world. She looked at stars every night. She thought of old battles. She thought of lessons taught. She thought of lives saved by fear of what might come. Young officers visited sometimes. They asked questions. She answered simple. We waited because waiting hurts them more than rushing. We erased because erasure teaches forever. We stayed human because humans remember. One night she stood outside. Wind cool, stars bright. She spoke to the dark soft. We never wanted this, but we accepted it. And because we did, the galaxy learned peace the hard way. She went inside. The door closed quiet. Far away the erasure sailed on. New captain, new crew, old mission. Patrol, protect, prepare. Ready for the day someone forgets. They would remember them, with fire, with waiting, with erasure. The stars watched silent. They had learned silence well. No one demanded from humans anymore. No one dared. And the galaxy turned on, peaceful, steady, safe. Because some lessons once taught, stay taught, forever.